Good morning, Gardening Gracefully family. This is Rebecca with Gardening Gracefully, and I wanted to show you guys a garden tour update and see how the plants are doing and see what we have going on in the garden. I don't know about you guys, but our yard flooded really badly this week here in Texas. We had so much rain, and it was a lot of rain. I mean, I'm very thankful for the rain because it really does help the plants in the garden. As a matter of fact, when you have this much rain, a lot of times the soluble nitrogen that's in the rain will just make those plants go and explode. They just get huge. And so that's what's happened, and I've had to come out here in between rain sessions and tie up my tomatoes because the plants have just gone crazy, and do various other things to help the plants in the garden in between rain. And so our yard did flood pretty badly in quite a few spots, especially spots where we don't have grass. We didn't trim our tree this year like we normally do. We just had so many other projects going on inside the house, like a bathroom remodel and other things, that we decided this year not to trim the tree. Well, in doing that, it makes not as much grass grow underneath the tree because of so much shade. So everywhere where there was a ton of mud or soil, it ended up flooding right there. Well, in doing that, it pushed any ants that we had in our yard up into some of my garden spaces. So I went to go plant some zinnias in one of the corner spaces, and come to find out there is a ton of ants in there. So I know they'll probably leave that area once the rain has kind of stopped and their home underneath the ground isn't flooded so much. But you know, I can't do anything about it because once you put diatomaceous earth on it and it gets wet, it doesn't work anymore. It has to be dry. So I can't do that, and we have more rain in the forecast. So that's kind of the plan, is just to wait it out and see what they do. But the ants do have to get out of the bed. They can't stay in there. So it's where my carrots and my rutabagas are planted. And yeah, it's kind of hard to work in there if you have ants crawling all over you. So let's go take a look at the garden and see how it's going. So I purchased some beautiful flowers at a big box store this weekend. I couldn't resist. This little arrangement that they had, I thought was just so gorgeous, you know, with the geraniums and the coleus. It's just beautiful. So I couldn't resist. I bought a few things. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. I finally took out my spent sage and my dead rosemary and went ahead and put some purple basil and just some regular basil in this plant pot. And so they're kind of still probably a little shocked from being transplanted. My peppermint is going crazy, like really going crazy. I had hoped to plant something else in there with it, but I would have to cut it back to do that. And then of course here's my flat leaf parsley and curled leaf parsley. I think I'm going to end up using some of that to go into a pesto dish. And I don't think I have enough basil, so I'll probably have to use just store-bought basil. But I think I'm going to make a pesto dish to help use some of this up. You guys, I can't wait until you guys can see this open, but I purchased this hibiscus plant, and I mean, the flowers are just gorgeous. And so once it opens, I'll show you guys again, but I'm trying to debate on where to put it. And so obviously I want to put it somewhere where it gets plenty of sunshine and where I can cover it if need be over the winter and overwinter it, or bring it inside. So I don't know if I'm going to leave it in a pot or put it in the ground. I haven't decided, but I know that it's definitely not frost hardy, so we'll see. I mean, there's lots of things you can do with plants that are not frost hardy and still leave them outside. Just take some time and care to do it. So this was my spinach bed, and it still is, but I went ahead and threw two squash plants, well, one squash and one zucchini in here, because they were still in little pots and I didn't want them to waste. So we're going to see how they do in this pot. I think they'll do okay because there's plenty of soil. It's pretty deep. Squash really like to have their roots go out, not so much as down. Matter of fact, I think last year I ended up having a squash root go at least 6 feet across the garden. I mean, it was huge. And I had a ton of squash last year. So, you know, they really like to have their roots go out. So the bigger the space they're in, the better they're going to do. I think they're looking okay, you know, but I threw them in here because I didn't want them to die and I wanted to be able to use them, and I didn't really have another space to put them. And once this spinach is all done, oh, we got some more little baby spinaches, then, you know, it'll be plenty of room for them too. Which you can plant spinach, you know, little things like that next to larger plants like this, and it will still be okay. I do have some, man, I know I've got a grasshopper somewhere. I'm telling you guys, we get grasshoppers here and they will just eat up my plants until I find it. Once I find it, it'll be fine. Here's my rutabagas and my carrots. There's some other carrots there. You can see some of these seeds were actually planted last fall, and they just started germinating now. And so, you know, hey, whatever. I mean, it's working and they're germinating and I'm getting a root vegetable out of it. What a blessing, right? I went ahead and had some other purple basil and planted it back here. I also ended up, because I had a space in between this garlic and over here, and that garlic will be going at the end of June most likely, or actually probably a little bit sooner than that. But I went ahead and planted an eggplant there and an eggplant over here. So, you know, back there I will eventually be planting something else afterwards. And I went ahead and also planted a cucumber here, which I'm going to get a trellis for it. So it's not really going to take up much space in here because it's going to be growing up. I do have some garlic that I will be showing you guys how to trim the scapes off of soon. Got scape growing right here. See that? It's not quite ready yet, but this is hardneck garlic, so you do have to trim the scapes. And once you do, I've got another one back here. See this? And so I'll show you guys how to trim those here in a couple of weeks if you ever want to grow hardneck garlic. And so my garlic's actually getting ready to almost be done, so that's pretty exciting. Oh yay, I have some strawberry blessings. Look at this. Got some strawberries. Yummy. Ah, that one went straight to the ground. It's exciting. My kids will love having some of these if I don't eat them all while I'm out here. I'm going to be getting some tomato cages to put on these peppers soon. That way when they're growing up, they can kind of have some support. You know, the tomato cages really, they don't work well for tomatoes, in all honesty, because tomatoes can grow so tall. But they work great for peppers. And if any of you guys have planted peppers before, you can actually plant these 8 to 10 inches by each other, because peppers are like friends. They like to hold hands. And they actually really do enjoy being close to one another. Peppers, if they're just slightly touching each other, do well. And they self-pollinate. So if you're putting a hot pepper and a mild pepper next to each other, most of the time they will not cross unless if you intentionally do it. Because they self-pollinate within their own little flower. So both the male and female are inside their own little flower. So you really generally don't have the cross-pollination to worry about with that. Wonder if I have any jalapenos that are ready over here. Let me go see. Let's see, are there any jalapenos ready over here? Oh, that's a pretty good sized one. Not quite ready though. Oh, there's another one right there. Yay, and there's a little baby. So precious. Something to show you guys with tomatillo plants. They start out with these little buds, and then you'll get these little husks. Okay, there's nothing inside here. Well, there's a little tiny fruit inside there, but you can kind of squish them, okay? And it will take some time for the fruit to grow. You don't harvest tomatillos until their husk is splitting open from the fruit. So just keep that in mind while you're growing those. I have a ton of cute little baby tomatoes. Look at these little guys. Those are precious. See over here how this big one's doing. Where is it at? Oh yes, there's the big one. Yay! I do notice on my new big dwarfs that all of those tomatoes tend to be splitting, and that is because of how much rain we are getting. We're getting so much rain that it is splitting the skins, and that's okay, because you know what? Real food comes dirty and it's not perfect like you see it in the grocery store. So many people want their foods to be perfect like you see in the grocery store, but that's just not real gardening, you guys. Real gardening is your food is from the earth. There's dirt in the earth, you know, and it's not going to look perfect. Those guys at the grocery store, they spray a ton of things and put a ton of things on their crops to make them look the way they do. So just remember that. When you're growing something, you can eat something that's not perfect. Let me go see if I can find this. Here it is. It's down here. See these guys up in here? They're split on the bottom. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be horrible food. Horrible fruit. But, you know, if you're not used to eating non-perfect food, then you may be like, oh, I don't want to eat that. But you can cut that bottom part off and the rest of the fruit is just fine. These Zapotec pleated literally have taken off, you guys. I mean, one is almost as tall as me now. I had to trim this heavily yesterday because it is just growing like crazy. I mean, if you give a plant what it needs, it just takes off, you guys. And this rain has just been a blessing for them. It really has. Oh, goody. Look at all those yummy beans on here. I like to pick them where the peas inside are still really small because they're so much sweeter. So my kids love to eat these too. I ended up planting a marigold right here. Marigolds help take some pests away from your squash. So it actually kind of helps to have a marigold near it. Whenever I'm growing squash, I'm always checking to see if there is any bug damage. Down inside on the stems, you'll see like this little rust looking colored stuff coming off of them if a bug has started burrowing inside a squash borer. So far I don't see anything in these, thankfully, but I think it's a little bit early in the season, so it's going to be closer to June probably. These are getting pretty good size. Look at that, you guys. They're looking good. Let's see how my zucchini are going. They haven't really budded up as much. They're budding, but they're not opening yet. So, see this guy over here. Oh, here we go. Got a couple of zucchini down here that are growing. See that guy? Another one over there. Yay. Oh man, I got a ton more peas in here. Let's see if there's any more. Huh. How wonderful. Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful food. My cantaloupe is growing over here. I don't want it to take over the whole garden, so I've been kind of wrapping it up a little bit to kind of keep it in its own little space. See some little buds on there, but those are, looks like those are male flowers, so they're doing pretty good. Here's my awesome cucumbers. Got a little cucumber fruit right here. See that little guy? Isn't he cute? And then here's some male flowers down here. And so, look at that. I've got a lot of little beans showing up. Not quite ready there. They're getting there. Oh, that one's kind of ready. There we go. I'll pull that guy. I have some green beans in the fridge. I'd like to be able to eat them. Got some purple ones. They're not super big yet, but Sorry, I don't know if it'll focus on that or not, but got quite a few purple ones in there too. So that's pretty exciting. So let's take this guy off. Here's that little pineapple tomato plant that my friend gave me. It's doing good. It's growing. Over here I've got a ton of tomatoes on these. I'm trying to remember what type these are. Let's see. This is the Cherokee Purple. Looks like they're going pretty well. Both of these have a ton of tomatoes, and they're pretty big too. It's exciting. Well, I think this is all I have to show you guys. Until next time, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Thank you for taking a garden tour with me here on Gardening Gracefully, and I hope it encourages you that a normal backyard, you can transform it into anything and grow your own food. God bless.